Have you ever felt like giving up? Not because you don't care, but because you're just exhausted? What if the problem isn't that you're weak, but that you've been strong for too long? Life doesn't come with a pause button, but maybe, just maybe, the strength is in the pause, not the surrender. Is it possible to rest and still stay committed to the goal? In this video, we're diving deep into what it really means to rest without giving up, to breathe, regroup, and come back stronger than ever. Let's talk about what it really means to rest without quitting. We live in a world that glorifies hustle. We're taught to keep going, no matter what, to grind until we break, to push until there's nothing left. But let me ask you this. What if strength isn't always about movement? What if real strength knows when to stop just for a moment to breathe, to reflect, to heal? We often associate burnout with failure, with giving up, with weakness. But what if I told you that feeling burnout isn't a sign that you're incapable, but rather a sign that you're human? When we think of burnout, we often hear words like weak, lazy, or unproductive. We've been conditioned to believe that the moment we start feeling drained, we've somehow failed ourselves or others. This idea is ingrained in our minds, especially in a world that glorifies nonstop hustle and pushing through at all costs. But here's the truth. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that something needs attention. Your body, your mind, your emotions, they all communicate with you. And sometimes they're telling you that it's time to slow down. It's not a defeat. It's simply a message. Even the strongest minds, the most resilient hearts, need rest. No one is immune to exhaustion. No one is invincible. We all admire the people who seem to keep going relentlessly, whether they're entrepreneurs, athletes, or creatives. Their energy seems boundless, their drive unwavering. But here's something many of us fail to recognize. Even the strongest people need breaks. In fact, the more successful someone becomes, the more important it is to take care of themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. Because no matter how strong you are, there are limits. When we don't honor those limits, burnout is inevitable. It's not a weakness. It's a warning sign. It's like the check engine light on your car. If you ignore it, things can break down. But if you take care of it early, you can keep moving forward with strength and clarity. Fatigue is your body and soul speaking. Your body and soul don't lie. They speak to you through fatigue, tension, and stress. When you're feeling drained, it's not a coincidence. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you felt exhausted to the point where you couldn't focus or think clearly? Maybe you pushed through that feeling, but deep down, your body was telling you, I need rest. This fatigue is your body's way of signaling that something is out of balance. Similarly, your emotions will often weigh you down in ways that are hard to ignore. The weight of unresolved stress, anxiety, or pressure can leave you feeling mentally drained, even if you're not physically doing much. When you feel mentally drained, it's like trying to run on an empty tank. You just can't keep going. You might get frustrated with yourself, wondering why you're not as motivated or driven as usual. But here's the thing. It's not that you're lazy. It's that you've overextended yourself. Fatigue isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you need to pay attention. It's a reminder that self-care isn't an indulgence. It's a necessity for sustainability. Understanding the power of self-awareness. When you acknowledge your fatigue, you reclaim your power. Ignoring will only make things worse. The first step to overcoming burnout is awareness. So many of us try to push through, telling ourselves that if we just keep working hard enough, we'll get through the exhaustion. But this mentality often leads to deeper fatigue, confusion, and eventual burnout. When you listen to your body and recognize the signs of fatigue, you begin to develop a sense of self-awareness that is crucial for long-term growth and success. Are you feeling drained all the time? Do you find it hard to get out of bed in the morning? Even when you have important things to do, are you snapping at people or feeling overwhelmed by small tasks? These are all signs that you might be heading towards burnout. The key is to acknowledge these signals early on and give yourself permission to rest, reframing burnout as a signal, not a defeat. Instead of seeing burnout as a failure, what if we saw it as a powerful signal to adjust and recalibrate? Think of burnout as your body's way of saying, hey, slow down. You've been working hard, and now you need to recharge. It's important to remember that taking breaks isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It takes courage to recognize when you're burning out and to have the humility to pause. The reality is that if we don't listen to these signals, burnout can have serious long-term effects on our health, relationships, and overall well-being. But if we take it as a signal to care for ourselves and regain balance, burnout can actually be a catalyst for personal growth. It's not the end. It's just the beginning of understanding our limits and creating healthier boundaries. Embracing the human experience. It's important to embrace the human experience, the need to rest, recharge, and reflect. We don't have to always be on. And that's something we should all remind ourselves of, especially in a culture that pressures us to constantly be working, creating, and achieving. Your worth isn't defined by how much you do or how much you push through. It's defined by your ability to listen to your body and soul and care for yourself with grace. Remember, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. It's okay to need a break. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to pause. And you are allowed to come back stronger. Rest is not failure. It's fuel. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. We live in a world that often praises constant motion. If you're not busy, you're seen as lazy. If you're not always grinding, you're told you don't want it badly enough. But let's pause for a moment and challenge that mindset. Rest is not a step back, it's a step within. Think about an athlete. After intense training, they don't keep pushing nonstop. They pause, they stretch, they recover. Why? Because they know that growth doesn't only happen during the effort, it happens during recovery. Their performance improves because they rest, not in spite of it. Now ask yourself this. Why do I treat myself like I'm supposed to be stronger than that? You are human, and being human means you carry emotional, mental, and even spiritual weight, not just physical exhaustion. Life isn't just about how hard you push, but how well you recover. Resting is not about collapsing when you can't take it anymore. That's burnout. True rest is proactive. It's saying, I'm going to step back so I can step forward with clarity and strength. Rest wills, it doesn't break. Some people think taking time off means losing momentum. But here's the truth. Momentum without direction leads to chaos. Rest helps you regain focus. It helps you move forward deliberately, not just desperately. Rest is where wisdom grows. When you're constantly moving, there's no time to reflect. But in stillness, you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly again. You ask better questions. You reconnect with your why. You realign with your purpose. What if the wisdom you've been chasing has been waiting for you in the silence? A pause can be powerful, not because it's loud, but because it allows you to catch your breath and remember why you started. It allows you to feel again, to believe again. So ask yourself this. What if your next breakthrough depends on your ability to pause now? Sometimes, the doors we try to kick open require not more force, but more patience, more clarity, more inner strength. And those things come not through striving, but through resting. Let go of the guilt you might feel when you rest. You're not falling behind. You're not giving up. You're preparing. You're healing. You're growing in silence. Rest, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that endurance is building waves. And you can only ride the next wave if you've caught your breath. Rest is not the enemy of progress. It is the engine. Have you ever found yourself sitting in silence, overwhelmed and just tired? Not lazy, not careless, just worn out. That moment when you're tempted to walk away. Close the door and never look back is sacred, because what you do next can change your entire story. Rest is not a sign that you're weak. Rest is intentional. It's temporary. It's a conscious decision to breathe, gather yourself, and keep going. Rest says, I need a moment, but I'm still committed. Rest is wise. It honors your humanity. It's like putting your phone on the charger not because it's broken, but because it needs power to keep serving its purpose. When you rest, you're not stopping the journey. You're simply refueling. Giving up is permanent disengagement. On the other hand, giving up comes from a place of defeat. It's when you tell yourself, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is too hard. Maybe it's not worth it anymore. Giving up says, this is the end. It often comes from a moment of deep discouragement, pain, or isolation. And many times, we give up not because we truly want to, but because we don't know how to keep going anymore. But here's the thing. Just because it's dark now doesn't mean the sun won't rise tomorrow. Here's where self-awareness becomes your greatest tool. Ask yourself this: am I quitting because I'm defeated, or am I just depleted? Am I at the end, or do I just need rest before the next step? Sometimes the line between the two feels blurry, and in that confusion, many people give up when all they truly needed was rest. You are allowed to take a break. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to say, not today, but maybe tomorrow. But don't confuse the need for rest with a reason to quit. Your purpose didn't disappear just because your energy did. Are you really done, or are you just drained? Answer that truthfully and give yourself the grace to pause without shame. Because even the strongest hearts need time to heal. And even the brightest lights need time to recharge. What comes to mind when you think of strength? Is it power, endurance, constant movement, the ability to push through no matter how tired, how overwhelmed, how emotionally drained you are? That's what most of us have been taught. That strength means never stopping. That success belongs to those who outwork, outlast, and out-hustle everyone around them. But let's humbly consider this. What if that definition is not only incomplete, but dangerously misleading? True strength isn't just about motion. It's about knowing when to pause. Even the most powerful people, leaders, artists, athletes, thinkers have one thing in common. They know how to stop and breathe. Because here's the truth. Rest is not weakness. Stillness is not laziness. Slowing down isn't giving up. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is step back, breathe deeply, and reconnect with your purpose. Still waters run deep. Stillness doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means something deeper is happening beneath the surface. We live in a world that worships movement. You've heard it before. Sleep is for the weak. Grind now, shine later. If you're not constantly working, you're falling behind. But let's be real. Who does this mindset actually serve? We don't glorify the person who took a rest day. We glorify the one who pulled an all-nighter and burned out quietly. Why? Why do we celebrate burnout more than balance? Isn't it strange that we praise exhaustion as a badge of honor, but treat peace like it's a luxury only the privileged can afford? Here's a quiet truth. You don't become resilient by pushing endlessly. You become resilient by knowing how to recover, reset, and re-engage. Think about your body. Even your heartbeat has a rhythm, a push and a pause. Without that pause, the heart can't function. So why do we expect our lives to be any different? Stillness is not the opposite of strength. Stillness is part of the strength. So the next time you feel tired, overwhelmed, or stretched too thin, before you call yourself lazy or undisciplined, ask yourself, what if this stillness is strength in disguise? Take the pause, honor the moment, breathe, reflect, realign, and then when you're ready, continue, not from pressure, not from panic, but from clarity and renewed strength. Sometimes when we feel tired, the first thing we do is collapse into rest. We wait until we're empty, until the burnout has scorched everything inside us, and only then do we finally stop. But that kind of rest, it's not restoration, it's survival. What if we flipped that script? What if we didn't wait until we were broken to rest? What if rest became part of the structure we build around our lives, not an emergency escape? Let's talk about how to create systems that support your comeback. Rest with intention. Rest isn't just sleeping in or binging shows on the couch, though those things can help in moderation. Intentional rest means you choose activities that restore you deeply. Here are a few you can build into your rhythm. Journaling. Write your thoughts down, even if they don't make sense. Let your heart speak without editing. Ask yourself, what do I need right now that I haven't given myself permission to feel? Reflection. Look back gently, not to judge yourself, but to learn. Where did I start feeling disconnected? When did the joy begin to fade? Sleep, not just more hours, but better quality. Prioritize sleep like you would a meeting with someone important, because you are someone important. Solitude. Be okay with being alone without feeling lonely. There's a kind of clarity that only arrives in silence. Therapy or talking to someone safe. Sometimes rest is in the release. Speaking your truth, being heard, and allowing someone to help carry what you've held for too long. Nature. The natural world is slow, still, patient. Go for a walk. Touch a tree. Feel the breeze. The earth knows how to heal, and it invites you to do the same. Here's the truth. You can't rise if you don't prepare to rise. Rest without intention can quickly become avoidance. That's why you need a system that gently guides you back to your path. Ask yourself this: what small step can I take tomorrow? What commitments will I return to when I'm ready? Who can help hold me accountable in love, not pressure? Make it clear for yourself. Even write it down. When I feel rested, I will return with a heart that's been nourished, not pushed. Because bouncing back doesn't mean rushing back. It means returning with clarity and renewed energy. Here's a real shift. Most of us treat rest like a fire extinguisher. We break the glass when things are already on fire. But what if rest became a normal rhythm in your life? A scheduled pause, not a forced one. A way to stay balanced, not just to recover balance. A sign of wisdom, not weakness. You don't wait until your phone dies before you charge it. Why should your soul be any different? Ask yourself this: what would my life look like if rest wasn't something I earned, but something I honored? It's okay to pause. It's okay to pull back and take a breath. But do it with care. Do it with purpose. And when you're ready, come back not just as you were, but better, stronger, clearer, more you than ever before. Rest isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the path. Let's talk about something we don't hear enough. In a world obsessed with constant motion, even the greatest people you admire paused. We often look at people like Serena Williams, Steve Jobs, or Oprah Winfrey and see only their highlight reel, their victories, their awards, their breakthroughs. But behind every comeback, there was a pause, a moment when even they had to stop, reflect, and realign. Serena Williams, a champion who listened to her body and heart. At the peak of her career, Serena Williams stepped away from tennis multiple times. Not because she couldn't play, not because she didn't want it anymore, but because her body, her health, and her personal life needed space. She took a break to heal after health complications. She paused to become a mother. And after each pause, she returned stronger not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Her story teaches us this. Stepping away is not weakness. Sometimes it's how we step forward. Oprah Winfrey, resting to reconnect with purpose. Oprah has spoken openly about burnout, even as someone whose entire brand is based on helping others. At times, she had to retreat from the spotlight, from overworking, from the noise. She took breaks. She journaled. She reconnected with her soul. And every time she returned, her message was even more powerful. You can't pour into others if your own cup is empty. Her legacy reminds us that taking care of your inner world is not selfish, it's necessary. These aren't people who lack motivation. These are people who knew when to pause. They understood this truth. Rest is not quitting. Rest is part of the climb. So ask yourself, are you giving yourself permission to rest the way the greats did? Or are you trying to earn your worth by running yourself into the ground? Real success doesn't always look like hustle. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like silence, like walking away, so you can come back clearer, stronger, and wiser. Rest if you must, but don't you dare quit. Your journey doesn't end because you need to breathe. Even a paused heartbeat is part of rhythm. Keep moving slow if you must, but never backwards. Have you been pushing so hard that you forgot to rest? What would happen if you gave yourself permission to pause without guilt? What's one thing you'll do this week to rest with purpose? Sometimes, life feels like a race we never sign up for. Expectations are high. The pressure is constant. And somewhere along the way, you may have started to believe that if you're not always pushing, you're falling behind. But I want you to hear this gently and clearly. Needing rest does not mean you're weak. Feeling tired does not mean you're failing. You are not alone, and you are absolutely allowed to rest. Just don't quit. Remember, it's okay to pause, to breathe, to rest because you're human. But quitting, that's never an option. Keep going, no matter how slow. Your journey is still in motion. Thanks for watching, and if this spoke to you, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Keep fighting the good fight. See you in the next one.